these things happen? It's a question we've been asking throughout our lives, from childhood to adulthood, and particularly now in the context of the corona pandemic. Why is this happening? To me, to those around me, to the world? And a bigger question is, where's God in this, if at all? He seems to be indifferent, removed from the pain and the suffering and the loss that it brings. That question, why, isn't anything new. At a funeral Jesus attended of Lazarus, his friend, he was asked by Martha, the sister of Lazarus, "Lord, if you'd been here, my brother wouldn't have died." It's a real challenge to Jesus to say, where have you been? What have you been doing? Perhaps you and I certainly have to some extent been asking that question of late. So here's a few reflections, not answers, that might help you find a little more peace in the storms that we are in at the moment, and a hopefulness that one day all will be well, but not now. I think firstly we've got to choose our words carefully. There's a book in the Bible about Job who suffers an awful lot. And 3 of his friends come along to mourn with him, and they get it really right when they sit with him for a week and say nothing. It's when they start talking that things go astray. When they look for reasons for the suffering in Job's life. Let's be careful about what we say. Sometimes silence is the best way just to be. Because we don't have answers. We carry a huge amount of pain, and there are so many questions in our hearts, in our minds, on our lips. Yes, there are no easy answers. When Jesus was challenged about suffering in the Bible, Galileans murdered by Pilate on the steps of the temple, a tower that fell at the pool of Siloam in Jerusalem, killing 18 innocent people, he didn't give a clear answer. He pointed people to a bigger picture, a perspective of the gift of life and how we live each day fruitfully. Life is fragile, and we're more aware of that now than ever. God weeps. God isn't removed and immune from this. He's in the midst of it. At that funeral of Lazarus, he cries. He cries, he identifies with our sorrow, our loss, our uncertainty. This isn't a God who doesn't care. This is a God in the mess. A God who knows what suffering is like. There's a picture of a cross here, marking wounds. There is hope, and it is found in the truthful claim of a God who says, "I am the resurrection and the life." He says that to Martha, and it's supremely shown subsequently that first Easter when Jesus conquers death. Because the Christian hope in Jesus is that we have a God of life, life in all its fullness. A God who understands and recognizes death, but a God of resurrection. A God who comes through death to show us the future, the hope that we have in him. Death is not the end. Life before death, life through death, life beyond death in Christ. One day it will make sense. I don't know when that will be. The last book of the Bible, Revelation, talks about pictures that give hope, that every tear will be wiped away from our eye. There'll be no more sorrow, no more death, no more mourning or crying. Hospitals will be redundant in heaven. But the frustration is we're waiting. It's unfulfilled. We have this hope, but it's not realised. And I'd love to break into God's control room. I imagine this big whiteboard in heaven somewhere. And if I could see it, it would all make sense for me. Because at the moment it doesn't. I can't hold everything together. But I know somebody who does. And I can trust in him and give it to him. May that God of peace and resurrection hope and truth and love be someone you come to know more fully